Hi, this is Jason with the National Weather Service in Peachtree City with your winter weather update here for Thursday evening. I just wanted to highlight this radar here in northeast Alabama and northwest Georgia to start off with. We are starting to see what looks like some heavier precipitation, but actually is snow melting aloft. So as you get high up into the atmosphere, the snow is actually melting before it reaches the ground, and the radar kind of gets fooled into thinking it's heavy precipitation when actually it's still light to moderate and is just snow melting before it hits. Now, on the back edge of this, we are starting to hear of some reports of some snow making it to the ground and actually sticking. So as this activity progresses to the east and we see the temperatures perhaps drop just a little bit more, we could see some of this transition over to a rain-snow mix into the Trenton area. So Dade, Walker, Catoosa, we're actually going to issue a special weather statement here just for those counties here soon, talking about the possibility of a transition to rain and snow, and then at the highest peaks maybe even just predominantly snow. But the temperatures here, let's actually go to the temperatures now and talk about that. If you look, we're still in the mid 30s, even some 40s reported up here in northwest Georgia. So as this activity rotates across, it's going to be very difficult to actually get activity or snowfall to stick to the ground. So still very warm at the surface. So we're not thinking that we're going to need an advisory at this time, which is why we're just going with the special weather statement given these temperatures here. The only exception would be at those highest peaks, where we're going to be monitoring conditions closely over the next several hours to see how cold they get, which would dictate how much of the snowfall actually sticks to the ground. So we're going to be watching that closely. If we look out here to the east over portions of South Carolina, this is the earlier activity that moved through this large precipitation shield. Actually, this was just several hours ago that it moved through the Atlanta metro. East of the metro, we had some rain mixing with snow and sleet at times, but certainly no travel issues associated with that and nothing stuck. Northeast Georgia, as it moved through, we had predominant snow across the highest elevations as it started. Then it mixed with some rain and snow. The only accumulations we had were across the Blairsville area that reported a dusting. But again, temperatures here were relatively warm as this activity moved through, so no travel issues really up here, even at the highest elevations. But this was just the first half of the storm. It's going to be this back half as it rotates through that we're going to be watching during the overnight hours, and that we're the most concerned about, and what prompted the winter storm warnings for these areas here. So let's transition here and look at some of these high-resolution models and what they're showing. This was the activity that moved through earlier, and a lot of these models are showing a little bit too much snow. They're getting fooled a little bit by that snow aloft as well, and thinking that it's reaching the surface when it's not. We do think as we move through time here's that back edge. So northwest Georgia will see some transition, especially at those higher elevations, of some snow mixing in, and then maybe even changing over to predominantly snow. But again, those temperatures are so warm that it's going to be hard to get that activity to stick to the surface. Maybe the grassy surfaces, but the roads are going to be very difficult given the road temperatures out there, but not impossible. So we're going to be watching it closely for any upgrades to an advisory. As we go through time, what we're really going to be concerned about is that activity as it moves into northeast Georgia. And look at this during the overnight hours. This transitions very quickly to some light to moderate snow, especially along those ridge lines. As it continues to rotate through, again, predominantly snow across northeast Georgia. We do see a back end of this, but this snow is going to hang on even through the mid-morning and late morning hours, and wouldn't be surprised to see some flurries even into the afternoon across northeast Georgia as this activity just continues to hang on through tomorrow afternoon. But you can see why this would be the area of most concern, especially along the ridge lines as this activity moves through tomorrow. Overall, nothing has changed with our accumulation forecast. You can see really favoring that ridge here and showing the highest snowfall totals there. So anywhere from 1 to 2 inches, as high as 3 inches. If an area of enhanced snow comes across one of these peaks, we could see something in excess of 3 inches, but that would be very isolated. And then out here in northwest Georgia, those very light amounts from a trace, maybe up to 1 inch, but we think right now we're going to be under advisory conditions. We're going to be issuing that special weather statement for now, but again, we'll be monitoring this area closely as well. As such, the warnings have remained the same. We haven't expanded anything. Again, no advisory out here just yet, but we'll be watching it, and then the winter storm warnings remain in effect for the same areas that we had them before. And that would be for snowfall in excess of 2 inches, but mainly along, again, those higher peaks and ridge lines out here. Okay, so taking a look at one of our more reliable models, and this is the precipitation depiction, so just showing where we would have rain versus snow. This was that first wave that came through, primarily rainfall, but there were a few pixels of snow that mixed in, especially across northeast Georgia. And then you can see how with time it starts to transition. So this is getting into the late evening hours here. You can see northwest Georgia, portions up here that are transitioning over to snow, and then northeast Georgia as well. And then look how it really transitions to all snow over northeast Georgia as we get into Friday morning, and then persists. It gets a little bit lighter, but goes right on through early afternoon. Maybe a rain-snow mix as it ends and pulls out as well. So really looking at that northeast Georgia being the most concentrated for that snowfall. So the good news with all of this has been the temperatures, and even the minimum temperatures tonight, the lows. It's going to be hard to get those at freezing or below, except for those highest peaks along the ridges. Otherwise, we're going to be in the mid-30s for the most part, 36, 37 out here in northwest Georgia. So that's really going to help as far as when it transitions to snow. It's still going to be difficult to get some of that accumulating on the roadways. There will be some, especially at those highest peaks, but the temperatures overall are going to help us by not being in the 20s. Say, for instance, some of these last systems being in the mid-30s is certainly going to help out quite a bit. And likewise for the high temps tomorrow, I'm not sure we're going to get up into these 40s. It's just going to depend on how much cloud cover sticks through. I mean, with those latest high resolution models showing some of that snow holding on through afternoon, it may be hard to get these temperatures rising out of the 30s tomorrow, but regardless, we will be above freezing, and that's certainly going to help with the melting tomorrow. So may help with the travel issues as well. The exception, again, we keep talking about it, will be along those higher elevations and those highest peaks. So overall for this winter event, it's going to be a higher elevation type event with others, not as many travel problems, which is a good thing. So we're going to be watching it closely regardless tonight, and we'll send out any updates as necessary. So thanks for listening.